Anyone born in or between the years 1997 and 2012 is a part of Generation Z. In the 15 years Gen Z was born, technology, communication, and politics have drastically changed. 9/11, the war on terrorism, gun violence in schools, and social media have influenced the way Gen Z thinks. This is known as a generational effect, which is the influence of a significant external event in shaping the views of a generation. So how have certain events and social advancements shaped the political, social, and economical views of the students at Wando?
Can you say your name and age, please?
I'm Addie Knotts, and I'm 14.
My name is Montana Lucier, and I am 17 years old.
My name is Olivia Potter, and I'm 17.
I am Jack Sladen, and I am 18 years old.
What is your political party?
I identify as liberal.
Republican.
Republican.
Democrat.
Do you agree that things like 9/11, the war on terrorism, school shootings, social media, etc. have changed the way you think politically?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, I definitely think they have.
Do you think being born after 9/11 has influenced your view on the war on terrorism?
I'm gonna say yes to that.
I definitely think because of all the precautionary measures they took, I feel a little bit sheltered from the war on terrorism.
If I had lived through that time period, I would have been able to experience firsthand, and that would have, I probably would have had altered views.
We need to take a strong stance, specifically after 9/11, and I think the American First policy has done that.
Do you think social media has an impact on your political views? If yes, would you say the impact is more negative or positive?
I do, and I think it's a little bit of both.
That can be positive and negative.
Because you're so informed of everything that's going on, but also
The negative side is that there's a lot of misinformation that can be spread around easily.
it's hard to figure out what's true or what's not true.
But you could also be getting through social media a more wide span of information.
The factual stuff has definitely helped me in some of my arguments, but also helped me shape some of my political views.
Has the increase in gun violence in schools changed your view on gun rights?
Yes, I think so.
I think that definitely has affected the way I view guns, but it's not totally, hey, we need to get rid of all guns.
It definitely makes me want to push for stricter gun laws just because of all the safety issues in schools.
But we are going to have to be very careful on the regulations we put in place.
The gun is not the problem, it's the person pulling the trigger.
So we are going to have to do better with supplying schools with protective services.
What do you believe needs to be done to protect the environment, if anything at all?
I think we definitely need to do a lot more than we're currently doing.
And I think it needs to be a higher priority in the government than it currently is.
There are certain improvements we can make in industrial industries.
Re-entering the World Health Organization and trying to cut back on fast fashion to hinder climate change.
I view the environment as God's creation, and I believe we do need to protect it.
The government needs to have a lot more regulations.
Slowly transitioning into renewable resources is very smart, and there's no reason we shouldn't.
If you look at it, we have actually decreased our carbon emissions more now than we did in the Paris Climate Accord, and I think the Trump administration has done a good job.
Do you believe some drugs are targeted at teenagers?
I do.
Absolutely.
There are some drugs that are targeted toward teenagers, but it's how they get it.
The sort of drug industry unfairly targets teenagers.
Certain types of it and flavorings,
And it needs to stop.
nicotine products, and drugs.
Looks at vulnerable teenagers.
Do you believe any changes need to be made to the immigration process?
The immigration process is a little bit of a mess,
I think it's really sad how they keep those kids in cages at the border.
So, I'm a Latino.
but I think that Americans come first.
I think the immigration process should be less expensive for immigrants and also more accepting of refugees.
People coming into this country, coming in illegally, they need to be given the opportunity.
And we're sacrificing things we have to do for ourselves for immigrants. I don't think that's okay.
But I do think that process needs to be reformed.
As a high school student during a pandemic, do you think the education system needs an upgrade or change?
I definitely think the education system needs change. I think it's very old-fashioned.
There are a lot of older teachers who necessarily don't know how to deal with electronics.
I think everyone is pressuring high school students specifically, college. I think instead of pressing on college, I think we need to give students two opportunities, college or trades.
I think it needs to be upgraded just to accommodate the influx of virtual students and be able to accommodate them better.
As society grows and progresses, I feel like the education system's kind of been pushed to the side.
We need to give minority kids and kids in underprivileged areas the opportunities.
I definitely think it needs changes to reflect today's environment.
Which political issue or topic matters to you the most?
There's a lot of them.
I'm super passionate about Black Lives Matter and gay rights just because I think they need to be focused on the most.
I believe that social issues like that are slightly less important, so I think that economics are huge.
I think abortion matters to me. You know, I was adopted. I also understand this because I am a Jesus follower first.
Climate change should be a much bigger issue than it currently is because it is very dire. It's going to affect the world that we live in for the rest of our lives.
Is there anything else you would like to say?
I think it's really important for kids our age to be involved politically.
So just because you're young doesn't mean that you can't have an opinion.
I think people should be more accepting of others' views for politics, and politics shouldn't be such a polarizing thing.
Either if you voted for Trump or Biden, we are all Americans.
Look at the facts, find out what you believe, and stand for what you believe.
Because we are the future, and I think we should definitely start taking action now.
Even though, as a generation, we have experienced the same external events, our views vary. Each one of us is a unique individual that has formed a variety of political ideologies, with some issues being more important to us than others.